Welcome to the Elevate podcast, brought to you by the Registered Master Builders. Each week we explore the ideas and practices that help us get the best from our businesses, our teams and ourselves. I'm your host, Ryan Castle. We talk to experts, advocates and business owners in the construction industry to share their knowledge, insights and experiences to help you build a better business and enjoy a better life. Now let the business building begin.
Today on the Master Builders Elevate podcast, we are joined by Nigel Benton. Nigel has been a Master Builder since 1996 and is the Vice President of the Auckland Master Builders. Nigel passionately promotes recycling and sustainability in construction. We talk about the challenges facing the construction industry in reducing waste and offer advice for fellow builders on how to embrace greener methods. Nigel, welcome along to the Master Builders Elevate podcast. Delighted to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, no, it's always good to be getting the message out there to more people.
Indeed. So, Nigel, our big topic today is sustainability. I wonder if we might start with just trying to wrap a bit of a definition around sustainability. It's a word we hear in the media every day just about now, all these organisations that are proclaiming to be more sustainable. In terms of our member base, our construction companies, when you think about sustainability, what is it that you think about in that term?
Oh, look, I think, yeah, like you say, I think there's a lot of greenwashing out there too and people using things to make it look good. But I think as an industry, we haven't worried. Well, it's been too hard for us because what we have is we're all under time pressures and everything else. And it's easy just to throw it in a bin and get rid of our rubbish from site than to do anything else. And also ordering wise, getting materials on time and everything else, we're just trying to possibly over order at times. Some of the materials we have, the options that we have that we can use are pretty limited as much as sustainability goes. So I think we need to look at all of that as well.
So when we're talking in this conversation about sustainability, we're talking really about the construction process, much more so than how the house itself might be sustainable over the long term. Is that the bit that we're focused on here?
Yeah, look, I think so. For us, the long-term thing is a process that needs to be taken care of as far as maintenance-wise goes and what we're putting into it, I suppose, what we're specified with and everything else. I guess it's part of it. For us, what we've been doing is more on what comes out of it, the waste part of it, what comes out, what we're getting rid of, what goes to landfill every day.
Yeah, I think there's some pretty scary stats around the amount of our landfill that is contributed by construction. Do you have a number off the top of your head that you're familiar with?
Yeah, well, it's close to half, basically. What we're looking at of all waste that goes to landfill is construction waste. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, that is terrible. Not good for our environment or our cost associated with managing our landfills, I'm sure. But Nigel, you've taken a very proactive approach. I know you're an influential member in the Master Builders community. You're the Vice President of the Auckland Master Builders. You've been around the construction game for, what would we say, a couple of years, a couple of decades?
a couple and a couple probably plus. Yeah, exactly. It's scary how quick it goes. 1 minute you're the young one, and all of a sudden you're the old one. Yeah.
I hear you. And recently you did a construction project in New Lynn and you took a very conscious approach with your sustainability around that project. Can you give us a bit of a background on that project and how you were thinking about the sustainability component leading into it?
Yeah, look, I think it's something, and when you're in the industry, you think about quite a bit, and every time a bin goes off-site, you realise it doesn't magically disappear. It heads off to a landfill somewhere else. So I'd seen an article from Mark Roberts, who's the Senior Waste Planning Advisor at Auckland City Council, on waste in construction. So I rang him up and we planned this project specifically around it, which was good. So part of it was we'll just start as a little idea and see how much we could do. And it turned into this process where they said, we'll give you a challenge of meeting 90%. So it was really good. We met a lot of people on the way. Professor Terry Ann Berry, she's been very influential in this as well. Her team for what they did, especially around plastics, was amazing.
So Nigel, can you just tell us that 90% number that you talked about there? Can you just define what that number referred to? Okay,
so of all waste that went from that site, we recycled, repurposed 91% was the final figures. A lot of that was possibly on plastics, which there's a lot of plastic types that can't be recycled. If we could have had more areas where we could have taken that, we could have done a bit better. But that was a lot of where the balance of the figures went.
And can you give us some specific examples of what you did to recycle materials coming out of the site?
So we used a company called Junk Run specifically, which was a company that picks up your waste and repurposes it. So we did site separation on site, which ideally, if you're going to get to bigger figures, that's where you have to go. So we separated everything on site in different types: timber, plastics, metal, hazardous, everything else. And then they took it and delivered it to the recycle sources, basically, which made our life easier. A little bit harder since I talked to the guys the other day, and they said that they're not looking at doing construction waste anymore. They're just going commercial, which makes it harder. You're limited then to waste management who aren't great.
In terms of on-site, so did you have separate bins on-site that you were doing that sorting on-site to manage, or was it literally a kind of a pile you were putting those different waste types into, and then Junk Run picked them up? How did that work?
Yeah, a bit of both, to be fair. We had no skips on site, okay, so we made a conscious effort, no skips. We had smaller bins before each material. As far as timber went, we just had a stack. So we had a stack close to the gate where it was easy to pick up with just all offcuts of timber types. Plastic we put into a bag, probably more like a wool sack, metre by metre-ish. We stuck all our plastics into that. And for this, we were doing a survey basically as part of Unitech, and with Terry Ann, and we took all our plastics there. They did the site separation of all plastic types back at Unitech, and then they distributed it to the plastic recyclers for that. The final figures on plastic was something around 800 kgs. So it was a fair bit, because plastic isn't that heavy. Part of that, I suppose, where does it come from? Pre-nail frames, and we use cassette floors. But there, so each stack or piece that came had a sheet of plastic over it. For these 8 terrace houses, we ended up with 86 sheets of plastic.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, volume just grows quickly, doesn't it, when you're doing that kind of scale?
And I don't think, as an industry, we don't see where it goes, because it all just gets generally thrown in a skip. It gets mixed in with everything else, and you don't actually see that volume. So once you start doing the separation, you do see the volume, and then it becomes quite scary. Yeah, it does.
And this build that you're doing, was it a particular client you were building the whole 8 houses for? And I'm interested whether, did they have a particular desire around sustainability? Were they interested in that aspect of the project as well?
Yeah, so this was a development which we did, and it was planned around that. So yeah, we were in control of everything. Look, I think, to be fair, we could have taken a lot out of it, but because we wanted to do this survey and see what a normal building site would go through, we just wanted to go as we normally would. So I didn't specifically ring anybody and try and reduce it. We thought we'll go through and see what most people are facing each day, and then we can address it at the end of it.
And following the project, I'm interested in what were your learnings? What have you taken forward into maybe your current or future projects? And what do you think some of the initiatives might be with the supply chain to help reduce waste before it even gets to the site?
Yeah, it's a huge one, isn't it? This has sort of become my full-time job now, to be fair. We finished that development, and it's been really good, and we've got a lot of momentum going on what we did there. So now it's using that to get out to more people. Oh, look, we've got such a long way to go. What did we learn? We learned that it's not that hard. Anyone can do it. What are we facing? We don't have enough recyclers. That's a huge thing. We could do more, but we don't have the recyclers in place to take a lot of the products that we've got. So the big push now, what we've started going into, is trying to get manufacturers to be more responsible for what they're producing. We've talked to carters. Carters have been great. Mitre 10 started it, to be fair. They put a simple tick box in their online ordering portal. If you wanted plastic wrap over the materials you're getting delivered, and you had to tick it, and that took out 97% of the plastic wrap from deliveries just from that one tick box. So we've sort of been talking to carters for a while. I know they're doing a lot of stuff on their own, and they've just taken out plastic from all their pre-nails, which is a great thing. You have to specifically order it if you want it now. So that's going to take a huge amount of plastic out of that. We've met with the Frame and Truss Manufacturers Association, and we're carrying on discussions with them, trying to get it down to all the other truss and frame manufacturers. So we thought if we can go to the top and we can start coming down, we can start getting everyone to start making those changes. So it's been good. We've just got to keep pushing that. And Terry Ann's been very influential and a great help, because she just knows so much and a lot of people in the industry. So we went down to the Master Plumbers last week, the conference down in Christchurch, spoke down there. They're really interested in what we're doing. And I think most people want to make these changes. They really do. But we've just got to make it easier for them. I guess as what would we call ourselves? Just everyone in the industry, I suppose. Where do we go? We don't know where to go, where to start, who we ring, who's the recyclers are. So we're trying to get an app together that would be very user-friendly on site. So you're on site, you've got plastic, you've got timber, whatever, you open your app, shows you what type you have, you push on it and it shows you where the recyclers are. Do they pick up? Do you have to take it to them? So if we can do that sort of thing, then it's going to make it so much easier for everybody. Terry and the team are working on a waste management plan that we can get to all building companies or any company, to be fair, who's interested. It's just a sort of bit of a tick box thing, and it shows people how they can do it, where they're setting up their waste management plan at the start, where they're going to put their bins, where they're going to set it up, who they're going to use to distribute. These are the things we're trying to push out to more people.
Some fantastic progress you've made in the background, and I can see why you've been a very busy boy being involved in this. It sounds like there's a lot of hours you've put in, Nigel, so thank you for your contribution. I'm interested, and I'm sitting here going, oh, will our other Master Builders members going, hey, that's nice, Nigel, but did it increase your cost massively and increase your time to build because you were doing a whole lot of additional effort on site? What would be your response to that question?
Yeah, it was more expensive. And that's the problem you're facing, which is going to put more people off, and this is what we need to try and reduce. Until we get more people recycling, we can't get the costs down, but you can't get the costs down until you get more people recycling. So it's all chicken and egg stuff. We've talked to government saying, look, can you give a reduction? Maybe you could work through your consent costs or something like that. You get a discount if you're doing the right thing, if you're trying to do that. Council will introduce waste management plans shortly. I can see that happening. My take on that is until you have the recycle sources in place, it's very hard to have a management plan there. So they're the things you're facing, so hence why we're working so hard trying to get this set up before we can actually get this out. But what I would say to other builders too, if they want a waste management plan, if they want to get into it, if you can contact either myself or Terry and Berry, we're happy to share that with them, come and see them, have a chat, talk online, whatever suits, and show them how they can get started in this themselves.
Thanks, Nigel. And we hear the term conscious consumer, where more people, in supermarkets are wanting to know that their products are being sourced from ethical providers, etc. I'm interested, are you hearing in the market demand from people that are looking for construction? Is this a question that new home purchasers are starting to ask? Is that aware yet?
Yeah, it is. And I think it's up to us as builders to talk to your clients about that, and push that to them. But I guess if you're a client too, and you say, oh, it's going to cost me another $7,000 to $10,000 to do the right thing, what can I buy with that $7,000 to $10,000, So this is how we have to start trying to get these costs down to do it. I guess in the context of what you're paying, it's probably not a lot, but, there's still a lot you can do with that sort of thing. So our push now, I guess, is to talk to manufacturers and get them to become more responsible for what they do, as I was saying before. I mean, ideally, isn't it, if every manufacturer had a recycle source or a pick up and take back source for their materials, then you'd have no waste going to landfill anyway. And the ideal situation, isn't it, that gets turned back into the same product. Marley, for example, are doing some really good stuff on that. They'll take all their waste back and they're turning it back into new product. So, that's a start. We need a hell of a lot more of it. And then what we want to do is you go to architects and you say to the architects, okay, we want you then to specify these products ahead of the other products, which then puts more pressure back on the other manufacturers to actually change. And without that, I don't think that will happen. But, also, if you're a manufacturer and you're making a product, that all the waste is just going to end up in landfill, how does that make you feel? It's solely profit-based. I mean, that can't be great for anybody, surely.
Indeed. And I think we see market opportunity. It's not all about being cost-driven. So if we looked at the vehicle market, we've seen a huge rise in EVs. Lots of consumers making a decision to purchase an EV, which are typically more expensive than a petrol or diesel car, but they're doing that because they're making that conscious choice. It's not going to be for everyone, but I'm sure in the housing market, when people are going, there will be members of the purchasing community who are prepared to pay more. Just like some people will want to put in a $50 sink tap, and other people will want to put in a $7,000 one. different demands, right? So I hear you. I think there's plenty of work to be done to make it more affordable so it doesn't become a cost barrier, but it might also be an opportunity for some of the members to really position themselves in a niche in the construction market to, really play that up and help them differentiate between other people in the market.
Oh, hugely. Yeah, it is. And it's something that we have to be, as master builders, we've got to start pushing ourselves too. We need to push this to our members and just show them that it's not probably as hard as they think it is, and that it will make such a difference to us as a country. I mean, I had talked to someone the other day and they said, oh, look, if it's more India and China here and the US, they made such a bit difference that we wouldn't have to worry about this. And I think but isn't it the other way around? If we can make a difference, then we can show them how easy it is and get them to change. I think the stats show at the moment that only 5% of all plastic in the US is recycled, which is terrible. We don't want to end up like that. We want to have products where we can turn it around. We don't want to throw stuff into the landfill. I mean, we're not going to, especially in Auckland base, we're not going to get another landfill. The one they're planning at the moment is the last landfill we have. So we have to start planning another way through that.
And I guess that is a lever that councils have to pull. They could make the cost of using landfill prohibitive to the point that you want to recycle. I'm not suggesting they should, but that might be a lever they use as well. Okay. What would be your advice out to other Master Builders members that are thinking about the sustainability but maybe haven't made any step in that direction yet? You talked about getting the waste management plan from you, and we'll put your details in the show notes so people can access that. What other advice would you give them, Nigel?
Oh, just get started. It's not that hard. We did, it's a phone call, isn't it? And you're away and going. I think the issue, some of the smaller places, smaller towns out of the main centres where there are no recycling facilities, we're working now with maybe supplier merchants and things like that to say, can they have drop-off centres in their yards? And then we use trucks to backload to the main centres where the recycle places are. You just sort of try and get the materials back. How do you work that out? So if you had plastic bags or plastic bins in the merchants' yards, then they could just be resent back to the main centres. When timber's delivered or materials are delivered, the truck's going back empty, they take that back there. So that's going to make it easier for a start. But also in each area, we can get someone who's going to drive it, no matter where you are. If you want to get started, you stand up and you start driving that area, you start talking to your members or other builders in that area and start to get them on board. Yeah, I think that's what it is, starting the discussions, getting everyone into it and seeing the differences that we can make and realise that it's not as hard as what everyone thinks it is.
Indeed. I had one curiosity question. You talked about the frame and truss all coming with plastic wrap, and there was an option to kind of remove that. Am I correct in my assumption that the reason they were plastic wrapping them was for weather protection? Is that why they were wrapping in the first place?
Yeah, it is. And it probably, I think over the lockdowns and periods we had when we couldn't get materials, it was possibly more important because I know they had big stacks out of the frame and truss manufacturers' plants, because they couldn't deliver to certain things on time. Talking to them now, they're pretty well back on time now. Things are being delivered, so they're being manufactured pretty well the day before it gets delivered. Right. So it's not going to make any difference. And in our case, that was made the day before it was delivered and we took it straight off. So if you're a normal building site, they just go straight off and throw it in the bin. I mean, then it's standard, it's stood up and it's got wet anyway. So it's, it's a waste. It's a total waste of what they're doing. And I realise they're doing it to protect their product. But in doing so, what's the cost to everything else?
And is it actually providing much advantage if it's being delivered to you the next day and then you're, as you say, standing it up and it's weather exposed until you can get it enclosed anyway?
Yeah, and I think talking to the frame and truss manufacturers, what they're saying now is, if you've got a hold up, then ring your supplier and just tell them you've been put back a week or a day or whatever, and they can work the manufacturer around that time. Don't just say you still want to have it at that date and then complain that it turns up and it's wet. We can work around that. It's just communication, isn't it? Just make everyone aware.
Communication and planning, a couple of the best tools in the builder's tool belt, aren't they, those two?
Oh, you were bloody good at that, yeah. That's the one thing I suppose about the manufacturer shortages. At least it made a lot of the young guys realise that they can't just ring up the day before and get materials when they want it.
Hey Nigel, thank you for your contribution today, explaining to us what you've been able to undertake and also the huge amount of work you've done in the background to do exactly what you advised, which was just to get on and start doing it yourself. And rather than preaching from the pulpit, actually making it happen. So thank you to you for that. If there are other Master Builders branches around the country that would like to have you come and talk to the members, would you be open to doing some spots with them around the country?
Sure, not a problem. Yeah, no, I think this is, we need to get this word out there and just show them how easy it is, and just share the message. I think it's great, really important that we do get it out to as many as we can.
And what's your speaker cost? Is it sort of double sausage rolls or something as a speaker cost?
Yeah, anything's better than what I've been getting at the moment. So yeah, we'll take whatever. Yeah, not a problem at all.
Good one. Hey, thanks, Nigel. Appreciate you sharing the insights, and thanks for joining us on the Elevate podcast today.
No problem. You're welcome anytime.